mamas. I'm really glad you're here. I'm really glad you're here because I know how valuable, but what I really mean is sacred, your time has become now that you have a little monster running around your house. You used to have free, silent time, maybe, and now you don't. And so every click, every look, every like, every heart, every check this out more, I understand is a withdrawal of energy and focus. And for you to click or like or say yes to something, I recognize as valuable. And I hope that what you really are motivated about is this is a chance to remove some things from your current parenting skill set to improve your flow. We're going to remove some things. I promise you, I'm going to share with you 3 things that you can stop doing that will improve your parenting, for sure. So here we are. Yes, please. Let's remove some things. You are probably checking this out because you are a parent who feels like you are consistently at odds with your kid, or there's contentious feeling in the relationship with your kid, and it feels like that more often than you would like. Okay? Maybe you're a parent who absolutely has brought in the circle of things that you do because the behavior of your kid is so outlandish or embarrassing or hard to control, or you don't even know what to do about it. So you just, I don't know, swat him, yell at him, don't go there, don't go to that party. But like if you get the feeling like your kid is controlling your life in any zone, not like in the, oh, this is amazing, I'm making some exchanges in my life because now I have a newborn or like a little one, but instead more like this kid's behavior is so insane, I feel like I don't know what to do as their parent, and therefore I'm like coming in, okay? So I want to share a little more about that, which is parents, for the official introduction, I'm Kim Pierce, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I spent 20 years doing counseling in various capacities. I've worked in small kid development centers. I've worked in schools and alongside schools. I've been in large counseling agencies, some of the biggest in the states that I've lived in at different times. I've also worked in small counseling agencies. I've founded my own counseling center where I oversee a team of about 10 therapists currently in the town that I live in. And I've also been involved inside and alongside child welfare services. So please know that when I talk about some of these feelings from parents and why they come to look at ways to feel more mastery as a parent, it's because I know how difficult it can be. I just know that parenting can absolutely bring you to your knees in a way that you are reconsidering everything about your life. Sometimes I will hear from parents and talk with parents where we would say something to the effect of, man, if there was a return policy, I'd look into it. But they didn't come with one, and they sure as hell didn't come with an instruction manual that I know of. And so if you ever have that feeling, please know that that's where we're at. That's just a true thing for lots of parents. Okay, so maybe you're a parent that seriously dreads walking into the store, into the grocery store or into Target or into like a Salvation Army, like anywhere where your kid is going to just come unhinged and need to get things, or their behavior is going to become really difficult to manage and you're going to feel embarrassed. Maybe going to parties, like kid peer parties or even family parties, is really quite stressful for you and not enjoyable. I talk to a lot of parents, moms and dads, who they'll admit to me in one way or the other where they feel a lot of mastery at work like it's silent and they can work for extended periods of time and not being interrupted, and they work with other adults and they feel good about what they do. And so then those parents will say, and then I have to come home. And I know a parent who like sits in the garage for a little bit of time before they're ready to come in the house. I hear parents just say that they dilly-dally at work, or they're looking for extra stuff because being at home is so much more contentious. They feel so much less mastery than they do at work. And I'm just saying what's true because it'll help you figure out if this is going to be helpful for you. Like if eliminating these 3 things is going to help, okay? I also know that there is a lot of bad habits that parents pick up. I told you I've worked in child welfare services. I do not take that work lightly, obviously. But I haven't yet met a parent I've never met a parent who has brought children onto this planet with the intention of harming them. But I also know there are so many parents who get so overwhelmed by the work of parenting, they harm their kids physically or emotionally, verbally with verbal abuse. And so I say that out loud, perhaps so you don't have to right now. But if these are things that happened to you as a kid and that you are doing even though you swore you wouldn't, or if these are things that have kind of come out of you almost to your surprise because this parenting bit is so difficult, please know that I understand that is a reality. Whether you're dreading a trip to Target or you feel terrible shame about having hit your kid or how you talk to them, one way or the other, you're checking this out because you're stuck. That this cycle of ineffective communication between you and your kid to try to improve their behavior, to try to raise them in a way that feels good for you and for them, just isn't hooked up yet. It's like the pieces aren't there to like how train cars are connected. Like they have to have those connection points so like the lead train can like pull the other cars along. It's not connected. They're banging into each other and they're going backwards, and then this one, it's just not connected yet. And so and I don't have to tell you this, but it's exhausting. It's exhausting to parent that way. It's also demoralizing. I also don't know any parents who are like proud of the fact that they yell at their kids or have put them in timeout for so long, or just given them an iPad so they don't have to parent and deal with it anymore, or have hit their kid. So the cycle of exhaustion and feeling bad about it, I understand, I see, and you feel miserable, and I can promise you your kid feels at least just as miserable. But here's where the difference is. Kids are remarkable. I've worked with literally hundreds and hundreds of kids over the 2 decades of doing counseling. And of course, I'm not going to tell you that I love all children. Some kids are really hard to work with, but I do like working actually with really hard kids, because even the really hard kids, there's always these nuggets of like unique things that they can figure out and feel so strongly about that when you can uncover them, it guides them for their whole life. And I say this because when kids are younger, like 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, they can't unilaterally do that for themselves and make big improvements in how they're doing without the involvement of the parent. So kids are amazing, but they're not going to like turn on a dime and say, okay, I just want it to feel better at home now, so now all my behavior is going to be good. Kids are amazing, but I've never yet met in 20 years a kid who does that. Okay, here we go. Moms, dads, aunts, uncles, grandparents, people who care about children and want it to feel better. You guys can. You unilaterally can put yourself in a situation to say, okay, this isn't working. Enough is enough. I want to learn and think about this differently and learn what's in my inside and how I apply that as a parent and how that what that means for my kid. What does my kid then experience? And I say this to you adults because we're so obsessed with putting our kids in the right whatever sport or right club or right tutor, or teach them 4 languages by the time they're 7, or whatever your kid is into. We're constantly trying to get our kids to like learn new things, but we as parents and we as adults kind of like stop doing that. And so if our kids had an instruction manual and you could just follow along with that, I'd say go on, but I don't know of one. You got to create it. And so just like your kid would go to soccer practice, it's really valuable and highly effective when parents, when adults start to think, okay, just like my kid has learned this new skill of learning the recorder, just like my kid has learned this new skill of learning the alphabet, I'm going to dig in here and figure out what I really want parenting to feel like for myself. So here's the first thing, moms, dads, parents, grandparents, that I want you to do is stop blaming yourself. Stop making yourself feel terrible for some of the bad, hard, difficult situations and decisions you've made in the past. Because for where you're going now doesn't allow the space for the self-blame. Okay? We're constantly being told all these things that are important in parenting, but the truth of the matter is it comes from the inside of us. It's personal. How we parent is so much of who we are. It's why we're so crazy about our kids, meaning, it polarizes people quickly. So don't judge yourself for it. Have some kindness, have some compassion and some empathy. You got here as a parent because of how you were parented. And so judging yourself, beating yourself up about it isn't going to help. It's just not going to help. Okay? So we'll do some future work about that. But for right now, mom and dad, your kid doesn't benefit from you blaming yourself about being a bad parent. Okay? We live in a culture that doesn't particularly admire the task or even well support child rearing. So take it for what it is and then know that you can choose differently for what you're going to do. All right, so number 1, stop judging yourself. Stop judging yourself. Write that down. If you got to grab a crayon that your kid was just eating on the floor and you're going to find a piece of scratch mail that came to the house a month ago that you found under the couch, please write that down. I'm going to quit judging myself. It doesn't help. It's just that it doesn't help. Having said that, parents, we can reduce the struggle. We can totally reduce the struggle. Kids are dying. Half the reason they're doing all these bad behaviors is they want to reduce the struggle. They just don't know how to do it. They're not as strategic as you parents are. And so it's not supposed to be contentious all the time. That's not like how the system was designed. The system is designed for kids to really be very bonded to their parents, to feel support, to feel connection, to have a safe home base, and to have a feeling like their parent can handle. That's true. That is very significant for a kid's emotional development. And so it's not supposed to be contentious all the time. And if it is, it's not good. It's not good. It's not good. And I say that as a true expert, having seen this now for 20 years in some pretty dramatic examples, and also have seen the turnaround that's available. Also, moms and dads, especially moms, I really want to make sure that you're not going to judge yourself because I know how much stuff you've already tried. I know how much stuff you've done. You've got some of the books. You have the therapeutic toys. If your kid's a little older, I know you've sat at the IEP meetings. I know you've got a tutor. You've probably already taken your kid to a therapist or a behavioral specialist, or you've met with the school-based team to help your kid in class. You probably have your 4 or 5-year-old at a psychiatrist thinking, I got to medicate this kid. I don't even know what the problem is. And I we'll get to that later, but I'm just saying, don't judge yourself because it's not that you're not trying. I know how hard you're trying. I know you're probably barely holding all the other things together, right? Because you're trying to figure this out. But, work, finances, life, all that stuff gets so hard. We constantly are pushing this to the back. This gets pushed to the back. And so sometimes I have this image of like fireflies out in the air, like bing, this one lights up, bing, this lights up. I'm going to try this, ding, I'm going to do this, ding, and then the light goes out. And then you're just kind of like grasping at anything, and none of it sticks. There's no continuity in it. And now you just kind of feel worse because you've done more stuff that doesn't work. And now you just feel still like a bad parent, but having burned all this energy, time, money, resources, whatever you were doing. So quit grabbing at the fireflies. You got to stop blaming yourself. Talking negatively, being mean or unkind to yourself doesn't help. You don't want to do it with your kids. You don't need to do it with yourself as a parent. I promise you that is something that has been true for 20 years of my counseling work. Okay? It's so personal. It's so personal. I hope you know that if you're if you're part of the Mama Juice family, you know some of the personal things that we talk about. And so much of that list of things that you've probably tried with all good intention, it hasn't factored you in. You're not factored in. And you gave birth to that little monster. And so if you're not factored in, man, you created them. I'm just telling you, you've missed a big part of the programming. And so that instruction manual that you'd like to develop, if you're not included in it, I'm telling you, it ain't gonna work. I wonder if you are a mom where if you've had this kind of, I don't know if they call it like mom shame or something, but you get these comments, like these well-intended comments from family or well-meaning friends about how you should intervene with your kid. And I just kind of ask you, like, did it help? Did it help to have that? How did it feel to get that? Did it make you feel bad? If it did, it just goes to that root in you where it's like, man, I'm not getting it, and other people are seeing that. And I know that happens, and it doesn't have to stay like that. It doesn't have to stay like that. But you got to do something different, okay? There's like a typical question that says, for marketing people, what keeps you up at night? And I tell moms, I'm like, I don't know if anything keeps you up at night because you might be so exhausted from just living your day. But what do you have anxiety about when your kid is napping? And one of the things that moms consistently who are looking into this program have anxiety about is, oh my goodness, my 3-year-old or 4-year-old who is lighting off every nerve in my body. What is it going to be like a decade from now? What will my 3-year-old be like at 13? What will my 5, 6-year-old be like at 15 and 16? If that has you concerned, please keep listening. Promise to stop judging yourself. And then 2, let's identify some things. This is the second thing I want you to stop doing, is stop doing some of those things that don't work. Okay, let's talk about some of those things that we do that don't work, right? We yell at our kid. We threaten them with empty threats. We hit them. I'll let that settle in there, okay? You bribe a kid. You plead with a kid. You distract a kid. You just think, fine, just take the iPad and get out of my face. You isolate them, you put them in timeout, and they're there for so long. If you ask them, they have no idea why they're there. These are all things that we try out of desperation that in that context generally are not effective. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to stop blaming ourselves because that doesn't improve the situation. And then we're also going to stop doing some of those things that we know don't work, that we repeat and that we repeatedly don't feel good about, and that we use to blame ourselves again, okay? Do you ever wonder, Mom, what it could feel like if there were just more good days more often? Like, do you ever see that woman? I saw this the other day. I'm not kidding you. I saw a woman who had 4 children waiting in an aisle, and I'm not kidding, there were chocolate bars in this aisle of a grocery store. And the kids were like handling. They were just handling. I mean, they were kind of asking, maybe this, or could I have this? And she was just kind of like, no, we're not going to. It was amazing. And then I go to my car, and I'm not kidding you, she has a 5th kid in the car, older kid, waiting. And I just thought, she should run the show. We should just have her do this. So like, All of us, no matter our expertise, no matter our level of what we think we know, we always see people where we think it must just come naturally. It must just come naturally. If it doesn't, you got to develop it. and I learned that obviously after reading lots of kid behavioral books for 15 years and then having my own children. But please know that spending time thinking about what you want parenting to feel like for yourself is significant, because it's very personal. It's very unique to you. How you want to feel as a mom, how you want to feel with your family and your kids, that is yours, uniquely yours. Having done this work with so many families over the years, I'm telling you, every single time it's different. That's why I'm never bored. I'm never bored doing this work. Okay? So I don't know what your end game is or what your grand vision is, but do visualize it. I mean, just daydream it. Just daydream it. Okay? Now, please, number 3. Number 1, in our own blood, if we had to write down, we're going to stop judging ourselves. There's too much important work to do in the world. Women, mothers, leaders, women in the workforce. There's too much important work to do to be spending the time making ourselves feel bad about how we parent. Okay? Number 2, you've identified some of those things that don't work, some of those strategies that you consistently go to that aren't improving your behavior. It's why you aren't impacting the kids' behavior in the way you want. It's why you keep doing them and they're still not working. So you've at least identified them and you're committing to swap them out. Swap them out. Ask an auntie or an uncle. Ask someone you admire. Ask that amazing woman in the chocolate aisle with her 4 kids, what do you do? What do you do? And swap them out, okay? Or listen on and I'll help you develop some of those strategies that are going to come from your own instinct to figure out what works for you and your kid. The third thing, don't delay. Don't delay. I've spent a handful of years really being specific and working with teenagers, and as unique as everyone is, every single time I'm talking to parents and teenagers, I'm talking kids like 13 to 17 pretty much, every single time I get this feeling, I think, man, this would be so much different if we could rewind a decade. Because moms, dads, the stakes go up, the risk factors go way up for 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds. When you add automobiles into the mix, you add drugs and alcohol into the mix, you add sexual behavior into the mix, you add going to whatever happens like in high school, and if you're going to go to trade school, or if more college means you're going to move out of your family home. The risk factors get so high so fast that when parents come to me with their 16-year-old who they feel like they don't even know anymore, not to mention how on earth would they connect with them to see if they're safe or if they're okay, I just think to what that girl would look like when she was 6. I just think about how those parents would be with her if she was 6, or when that boy who now is 14 and seems to hate his parents more than anything. I just think back, I wonder what it was like in the living room on the weekend, out in the yard, in the apartment when the kid was 4. What could have been done different there that would be so simple, these small tweaks that would have such huge impacts for the 14-year-old, the 15-year-old, and the 16-year-old? Okay? So you have to stop delaying. You know why? Because otherwise you're going to just drowned in mom guilt. You're just going to drown in mom guilt because we do all the things. The messaging, which is why you have to stop blaming yourself, check number 1, is because all the messaging is like, put him in the music school, make sure he listens to classical music. I don't know about gluten, but mom, you're not supposed to eat gluten while you're pregnant, or whatever that is. It's like, check all these boxes, and then we see parents running around trying to check all these boxes, but we've missed checking some of the most important ones, which is, how do we feel about being a parent? What are we naturally really good at? What actually matters to us the most in raising our kids? I guarantee it's not music class. And if it is music class, I guarantee it's not what particular instrument. Otherwise, you're living your dream and not your kid's dream. You're letting your kid live their own dream. Okay, but we're skipping over those most important ones. We want to raise kids that are resilient. We want to raise kids that have empathy. We want to have kids who who have the courage to even make a mistake. Oh man, what's happening in a lot of school systems right now is unbelievable, man. We are not training kids for the future, I'll tell you that. And to see kids do well in school, get it right at home first. What happens for a kid between birth, but really like 1, 2, 3, 4, I'll tell you how that kid will do in kindergarten based on everything that happened before he ever showed up. Guaranteed. So you can't delay. You can't delay. Promise me, no matter what you do, even if you don't sign on for more, keep listening to the podcast, ask some friends, but don't delay, Mom. Otherwise, you'll just drown in your own mom guilt a decade from now when your teenager stole your car, you don't know where they are, or they're just in their room, miserable, and hurting themselves. Okay, last bit. It is so tremendous to rework those fundamentals in you, to discover what your fundamentals are about parenting, to understand what some of your natural strengths are, to apply them to the uniqueness of your own kid and your own family dynamic and the adult tribe that's raising them, and for you to experience success and joy as a parent is seriously the greatest gift a kid can have. A kid will emotionally develop so much more well in the presence of a parent who is genuinely stoked on being their parent. And that's not about the right check boxes. That's not about, did I get the right things on the list? That's about a feeling. Mom and dad. Okay. This is an invite. If you want to hear more and you think, you know what, I could use the chance to be guided through developing my own parent playbook, yes, please, I do want to create an instruction manual. I want you to click the link so you can schedule a one-on-one with me and we'll talk more to see if it's a fit. By the way, it might not be a fit, so let me just go over that. If your kid is 8 or over, it ain't a fit. I'm only working with the young ones because I told you not to delay. So if your kid is 7 or under, let's do that. You got to ask special permission if your kid's over 8, and I'm probably going to tell you no. Also, moms, some of you guys know this, but I'm an athlete. I've been around a lot of really excellent coaches. I mean, I've been around like Olympic athletes. I was a college scholarship athlete, and I am just going to tell you there's going to be some work involved. That's just kind of part of my nature. Some of you guys know that Mama Juice is like 1 part family counseling, 1 part fight club. So there's some fight club in there, but it's really going to be a reckoning for yourself. So mamas, if you don't have any grit, this ain't a fit for you either. But it's going to be true, it's going to make a difference, it's going to be long-standing, and it will change everything. Watching parents, mostly women and moms, because that's just so dear to my heart, but watching women get this, you can see the change in their body. You can see it in the way that they walk. A mom who has this sense walks into Target way differently than one who does not. It doesn't have to be fancy. It's pretty simple. If you want to hear more, if you want to find out if you and your family are a fit for the Parent Playbook program, send me a note and schedule yourself for a one-on-one, and we can talk a little bit more about it. Thank you so much. Carry on with your sacred time. Mothers, I honor your courage. Please high-five your people. Squeeze your nugget if it's a time where there's not as much contention. And if there's a ton of contention right now, no matter what you do, stop judging yourself. Quit doing those things that you know don't work and you feel bad about. And don't delay. Please do something. We'll talk to you mamas soon. Bye.